my name is Nicholas. Thank you guys for coming to my channel. Today I will be doing a video about bearded dragon care, sort of just their overall care needs, like heating, substrates, their habitat, their diet, things like that. I will be bringing out my bearded dragon in a little bit for you guys to see her. I do also want to say that the information in this video, you should take it and cross-check it with other sources, like other videos, read other articles, read books, different things like that. Don't just take this video and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Try different things out when you get your bearded dragon if you don't have one already. Yeah, so just basically, just saying, I'm not an expert. This is my first bearded dragon. I've had her for a few years. But I'm no expert, so take this information, take other people's information, and just make sure that you guys are looking at different information and find out what's best for you and your animal. Now, without further ado, I will start the care and bring out my bearded dragon. Alright guys, so this is Igneous. She is a few years old. I'll tell you like a little bit of the story. I believe she's a little stunted, which is my fault. When I got her, and I actually bought her from a PetSmart, which, yeah, I know those are like big mistakes. I didn't give her the right cage sizes and all that, so that's why I think she's stunted. You shouldn't really buy from big chain pet stores like that. It's always better to, like, if you can, try to adopt and not shop, as they say. So yeah, I've made a few mistakes. Sorry, I was a little interrupted, but let's get started with the care now. So, let's start with heating. This is very important for bearded dragons. They really can't go without it. Their heating and lighting and all that. So their tank, well, their basking area, which is where they'll go to, that'll be like the hottest spot of their tank, if you don't know. So that should be around 90 to 100 degrees. You can go a little bit over 100, like 105 or something around there, but around 100 is good. They also need a cool side of their tank, which I would say shouldn't go like under 75, but honestly 75 wouldn't be a bad idea if they really want to cool down. But you do need that cooler side. I would say at least 80 or below. Now, to monitor this, I would use a digital thermometer, not one of those like little stick-on thermometers that have like the little plastic things that you can buy at like the pet store. I wouldn't use that. If anything, I think Zoomed sells like a little thermometer with little like probes that they have like little suction cups that you put on the tank, but the actual reading part that actually takes the temperature are like on like these little wires, I guess you could say, with like these little things at the end that you put inside the tank, so you can actually see what the temperature is at that spot wherever you put the little probe. So I would use that. I don't have one of these, but I want one because I think it's easier, like a little infrared temperature like gun to take the temperature. You can use that. Buy one. I'm sure they work differently, but basically like you point it where you want, press like the little button thing, and it'll take the temperature of that spot wherever you're pointing it at. I want one of those, but then again I don't have one, but I would say you can use that. So yeah, anyways, that's just how you can kind of read the temperature in the tank, but how do you actually achieve that temperature? You will need heat bulbs, and I mean like ones that they actually sell for animals and reptiles, not just like any light bulb that gives off enough heat. You will need actually heat bulbs, and the watt depends on the size of your tank and what wattage you need to achieve the temperatures for your tank. You will also need a UVB bulb, which helps them digest their food and all that, which together they kind of mimic the sun.
Hey everyone, so I just wanted to say that you actually shouldn't use UVB bulbs. You should use tube UVB, like a tube light for UVB and get the proper fixtures so it covers the majority of the tank, and you're not only putting UVB on the basking spot. Later in the video, you will see that I have a heat bulb and a heat bulb and a UVB bulb, with both of them have domes. That's actually not what you should be doing. You should have the heat bulb is fine with a dome, but the UVB should have it should be a tube UVB light instead of just the bulb and the dome. It should be a tube UVB light with the tube fixture. Just wanted to throw that in there. Also, I'm gonna talk about the mercury vapor bulbs, and you should have UVB in the areas of your tank that the mercury vapor bulb is not. So the mercury vapor bulb would be on your basking spot, but you should have UVB, the tube UVB light, on the area that your mercury vapor bulb is not. Just wanted to put that little disclaimer in there, and enjoy the rest of the video.
Or you can use what they call a mercury vapor bulb, which is like an all-in-one. So it's got your heat, your UVB, and I believe they also have UVA. I haven't used these. I've only used like separate heat bulbs and UVB bulbs. So that's an option too. Those things that you actually put the things that you actually put the bulbs into. For the mercury vapor bulbs, you will typically need a deeper dome. Then again, you might have to do more research on those. Deeper meaning like maybe not as wide. You're literally going to need like the dome to be deeper, like lengthwise, up and down. And I'm pretty sure you will need like a ceramic base. Then again, you can research that, look more in depth into that, but I'm not really experienced with those. So you will need the domes. I would buy them from pet stores just to be safe. Make sure that they're for the animals. Typically, it's going to mimic the sun, how I said. So day hours, roughly 12 hours on, 12 hours off. You shouldn't have light in your tank at night. It should be pretty much complete darkness. If your house gets below like 60 at night, or in the 60s at night, I would use what they call a ceramic heat emitter, which is no light, it just gives off heat. I already said you shouldn't use the lights at night, it should be dark. Oh my goodness. Stay here, what are you doing? So yeah, you shouldn't use light. Oh my goodness, again. So yeah, at night. Okay. So if your house at night drops like in the 60s, or during winter, if it gets really cold during the nights, you can use what they call a ceramic heat emitter, which doesn't give off light, it's literally just heat. If you want to do that at night, but no light at night, you can use one of those if you think it gets too cold for your bearded dragon. Your light should be 10 to 12 inches away from your lizard for the basking spot. Now this could be a little less, a little more. I would say a little less. I don't think you want it more than 12 inches away, but it could be a little bit under 10 inches. Now this is for the heat bulbs, not necessarily like the heat bulbs themselves, not the mercury vapor bulb, which is the one that's all combined. I think that one needs to be further away. Then again, I don't really have experience with those, so I would do more research on that. But for the heat bulbs, they should be roughly 10 to 12 inches away. You shouldn't use red lights or colored lights, because that can, I'm pretty sure, mess with like the cycle of the day and night and all that. Just stick to normal, the heat lights. Like you don't need any color or anything. I'm pretty sure that is it for heating. Now we can get into sort of the habitat section of their care. We can start with substrates, which is what they'll be on, like the bottom of their tank. There's a lot of controversy with things like sand, and
This applies to the product called calcium sand as well.
Different loose substrates. I wouldn't use sand because they can get impacted, which means if they eat the sand and they can't digest it, it pretty much builds up in their stomach and the digestive tract can't work as it should, and they can end up dying from it. So some of those harmful substrates I already mentioned are sand. I'm pretty sure you shouldn't use like the crushed or ground up walnut shells, I think it is. And I don't know if this is really harmful or not, but like shaved wood. I know pine and cedar and things like that have different oils and scents that can mess with animals' respiratory systems. But aspen, which is another just type of wood that you can use, might be an option. Honestly, I would stay away from loose substrates. I would use like hard substrates or oh my goodness, brain fart. What is it called? Like yeah. So I would use, I guess you could call it hard substrates. Yeah. So I think it's easier to clean if you don't use loose substrates. And yeah, so some of the harder substrates, I guess you could say, that I would recommend are, you can use things like newspaper, which is what I'm using right now, paper towels, reptile carpets, there's different brands that you can use, and it's just pretty much like a little pet carpet, I guess you could say, that you can cut to the size of the tank. These look nice. I've used these in the past. You can wash them. Well, I know you can wash like the normal carpet one, but again, if poop gets in it, things like that, I would just use something like paper towels or newspaper that you can pick up and throw away. They also have like these like rock carpets, or like I think they call them sand carpets, but they don't have sand. It's like a textured carpet, so it has like little pieces of rocks and things like that. That again can be hard to clean. I don't know if you can wash those, so, and I've never used those, so I really wouldn't know. You can also use things like tile. I would use a non-porous tile, so that way no poop or anything or bacteria can, it's less likely that it will like stay in the tank and seep into the tile. And you can also wipe these down. They can also help with filing the bearded dragon's nails down, which you do need to trim their nails, so that can help with that. Another safe loose substrate that I think people have used is what they call Eco Earth, which is like shredded coconut fibers. I actually have some here. It's like this. It's almost just like dirt. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just like, you know, like kind of like dirt. And if they ingest that, I'm pretty sure it's easier for them to digest. I wouldn't use this for like just their main substrate. Again, I would use like one of those harder substrates, preferably something that you can throw away. But I do have like a separate tank that when I let her roam around my room, she can go in and dig. So that I even wouldn't use as like their main substrate. I have a separate aquarium in my room that when I let her like roam around my room, I put it on its side so she can go in and out of it. With that Eco Earth in it, if she wants to dig or anything like that. Or you can put a digging box in their tank if your tank is big enough for that. Okay, now where you're going to be putting all this stuff. The tank itself, or the tanks themselves. You can use a 40-gallon aquarium, and they call them 40-gallon breeder tanks. That's a 36 by 18 by 16. That's like really like the bare minimum. I would even try to go for like a 75-gallon or something like that. And I would say that should be like the minimum. Because honestly, it's a big tank considering, but here's a little, it might sound cheesy, but although your pet is like a part of your life, you're pretty much your pet's whole life, if that makes sense. I think I heard that from like Taylor Nicole Dean or something, so that's not mine. But you know, so I would say that 75 would be the minimum, but you can go down to like a 40. So for the basking area, I know we talked about the heat, but what you can actually use for the basking area, you need something where your bearded dragon can like climb up on. So I have like different, you can use like different wood pieces and different like decorations and rocks and stuff to get up to that height where they need to be for their basking area. So overall, that goes along with like the enrichment. Put things in their tank that they could climb on and explore, maybe like even like a little hive that they could go in, and of course obviously give them some actual floor space as well. But yeah, your tank shouldn't just be flat, like it should have things that they can do. Their lifespan is an average of 10 years. I just have like little notes and stuff, so I'm just kind of going down the line. Yeah, so their lifespan is like an average of 10 years. They can live up to like 15 years and even past that, but I would say 10 is an average. I mentioned enrichment earlier with like the things they could climb on and stuff. I would also suggest that you can take your bearded dragon outside. I like to do this. I have a harness as a safety precaution. They don't normally run really fast, but they can. They're usually pretty chill, as you can see. So I like to do that, take them outside, make sure where you are, try to make sure that it doesn't have like pesticides, herbicides, and things like that, fertilizers. I also let her roam the room, and I mentioned like I have like that little digging box for her. Make sure that there's nothing really on the floor that she can get into, eat and stuff. Make sure it's pet safe. So yeah, I let her roam my room, and of course make sure you have things in their cage that they can do. But they don't really play with toys, so that's more like climbing and things like that. Okay, let's see. We can move on to their diet. Their diet, they eat vegetables, fruits, leafy greens, and you could say bugs, or like the creepy crawly category, which is like worms, different things like that, crickets and stuff like that, roaches. Now when I say that, I don't mean like, oh, you find a roach in your house and you give it to them. No, like you need to buy it specifically for them or breed them yourself. I'm actually trying to breed super worms and wax worms right now, so I can let you all know how that goes. And make a video on that if you would like. So greens, they can eat things like collard greens and things like that. I can leave in the description down below like a list of safe and unsafe foods for them. I feed her mainly collard greens. That's like her staple, with veggies and other greens as well. You should not feed lettuce because they say that it doesn't have a lot of nutritional value and they can get diarrhea. So you're basically just giving them water. So I would give them something that they can actually benefit from and not just survive from. Veggies, again, I'll leave that down below. There's like a bunch. Fruits as well you can give them. Those are a little bit more in moderation. Those could be more like a treat or just a little bit on like their salad, which is like their greens and veggies that they get. But not as much as you should not give fruits as much as the vegetables or the greens. Now for that bugs category, you can feed things like super worms, mealworms, phoenix worms, wax worms, crickets, dubia roaches, discoid roaches, hornworms, and I already said no outside bugs. There's more that you can feed them. The staple ones, dubia roaches are great. The crickets, phoenix worms, also known as calci worms, and silkworms are really good. So the ones that are a little like controversial that they say you shouldn't feed as a staple are super worms, mealworms, wax worms, hornworms, and some others. This could be for like the fat content and different things like that. And mealworms, I know I've never fed her mealworms. I feed her super worms right now. That's kind of her staple right now. But mealworms, I know that they have like a harder shell, I think, so you have to be careful with those. But yeah, those are just some of the ones that you can feed them. So they do need those insects. When they are babies, the ratio is about 80% of that protein of those worms and insects and bugs and things to 20% of vegetables and fruits and like greens. As they get older, that will change. So that will pretty much just go in reverse. So 80% will be the greens and vegetables, and 20% will be that protein, like the insects. Now we can move on to just kind of any like little care things. They really don't drink still water, but what you can do is soak them, which they can drink there. They can soak, I don't know if they soak through their skin, but I'm pretty sure they soak through like their butt, or their vent is what they call it. I try to soak her like every 2 days. And you can try to give water, but I don't. Her cage doesn't have any water in it. But I do give her those soaks and those baths, especially if she goes to the bathroom in her cage and she gets it on like her feet or her tail or something. You can use a toothbrush while they're in the bath and get that off gently, but I have a toothbrush for her that's for that. Like, you know, just kind of scrubbing her down, make sure she's good. They do need calcium for sure, and I like to give mine vitamins. So I can show you what I use. I'm gonna put her on the floor first. Okay. So for calcium, that's like a need. That's what they say, at least. So I use this one by Zoo-Med, just a Repta Calcium, without D3, it says. And then this is just the calcium with D3, and normally when you buy this, it's just that. But I actually mixed calcium with D3 and this Herptivite from the company RepCal, the multivitamins. I mix these two together, and that's what's actually in here. So normally I use these two. So I feed this like twice a week, you can say, just the calcium alone. And then this one, which is the calcium, well, so this one I feed, this is the calcium without D3. I do this about 2 times a week, you can say. And this one is the calcium with D3 that I've also mixed the multivitamins in with, and I give this about once a week. Just to, you know, kind of keep healthy, but the calcium is really important. I like to give the multivitamins, you know, just in case. So that's, you know, a little thing there. You can dust those on the insects, like put them in like a little container and like put the calcium or the multivitamin or whatever you're using in there with them, shake them around a little bit, and then feed them to your lizard so it's on them when your bearded dragon eats them, or you can put it on like their salad when you give it to them, like just sprinkle it on top. Oh, I also forgot to say about the insects. Your insects need to be what they call gut loaded, which is like you feed them vegetables and things like that to them, so that when your insect eats them, they're not just eating like nothing, like you're giving them nutrition, because what your insects eat will essentially sort of transfer into your bearded dragon. So make sure you're feeding them like, you know, food. I just recommend vegetables and things like that. Let's see. Yeah. So I do the bath, so I said every 2 days, or if she poops and she needs to get like that poop off of her, I'll do a bath then and use that toothbrush. They do shed. It won't come off like all in one piece. Like they'll shed in different areas at different times. So that's just a little warning, not a warning, but like a little disclaimer that they do shed as they grow. And the baths can help with that. Like, yeah, the baths can help by loosening that shed up and helping it just kind of come along. You should not peel shed, even if it looks like it's coming off. Let it come off on its own, because if you peel too far, you know, you can open up like raw skin and things like that. Now if it's stuck shed, you can take your bearded dragon to a vet or look up how to specifically deal with that. But stuck shed is not just like, oh, it's still on there and part of it is still there. Like, that's like if it's literally like stuck. Like, you can look more into that, but do not poo your shed. Even if it's like part of it is all off, don't even try to take that off. Like, just leave it alone, let it come off on its own. Oh, also, I would not keep 2 or more dragons in the same enclosure. I have not had experience with this, but granted, you can do your own experience, but for me, I wouldn't. People do and they have success and all that, but honestly, bearded dragons are animals that can be solitary and that can be alone. So they really don't need that. So that's really it, guys. I'm sorry if this video was a little awkward or if it was hard to follow or anything like that, but this is like my first like actual video that I actually like am doing, like sitting down like this, and like first video that's actually like I'm gonna start doing videos like this and actually try to keep up my channel. So I'm sorry if it was like a little awkward or something like that. I'm still getting used to the whole camera thing.
Guys, if there was anything that was unclear or any questions or anything, please leave it in the comments so I can try to help you. Thank you. Also, I forgot to include this. Please follow me on Snapchat at colognes_pets. Instagram, the same thing, at colognes_pets. And on Twitter, at colognes_pets. Alright, thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys for watching. If you have any cameras, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Maybe someone who has bearded dragons or people that can answer your questions, help me answer them down below if I can't answer them myself. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. Thank you all for watching. Bye bye.